Rhonda Patrick 是美国著名生物化学博士，她常常在各大英语 Podcast 以及自己的平台分享各类健康新知，内容涵盖有氧、重训、桑拿、营养、保健品、TABATA、HIIT。为了让大家更快吸收 Rhonda Patrick 的心法， Life Kaizen 将为大家把英语圈的生活改善新知，定期以超浓缩加画重点的形式制作成影片，供各位朋友参考及分享。您的支持是我持续做这个节目的动力，喜欢的话请务必订阅、点赞、按小铃铛哦。
Just talking about nutritional composition of eggs, so they are really packed full of a lot of nutrition. They have a lot of really different good micronutrients in them and macronutrients as well. So choline is high in eggs. Choline is good for your brain. There's a lot of B vitamins in eggs as well, and egg yolk. And choline is in egg yolk. Also for energy, pantothenic acid for metabolism. Phosphorus is really good for bones. There's vitamin A and vitamin D. There's iodine, selenium, everything from your vision to your immune system. I mean, all these micronutrients are important for a lot of physiological processes as well. Not to mention they're a really good source of protein, right? And also monounsaturated fat. A medium-sized egg also contains about 1.3 grams of saturated fat and 177 milligrams of dietary cholesterol, which used to raise concerns about their effects on, cardiometabolic health. However, we now know that dietary cholesterol is not a major contributor to total cholesterol and LDL cholesterol inside of our body, right? It's really saturated fat, trans fats. Those are the major players with respect to diet for increasing total cholesterol, LDL cholesterol. Let's talk about some other studies that were done looking just at eggs. So one study examined, this was a very large analysis looking at 40 different studies involving over 3.6 million people to look at the effects of eating eggs on people's health. So specifically, it looked at what happens when people eat one extra 50-gram egg each day. The study initially suggested that eating an additional egg each day could slightly increase the risk of death from heart-related issues. However, after considering the amount of cholesterol consumed from all dietary sources, eggs alone were not associated with higher mortality rates. So again, it indicates that the broader context of one's diet and there's a lot of different factors playing a role here that's affecting someone's risk of cardiovascular disease. So the American Heart Association put together an advisory board, and they analyzed a variety of studies involving eggs. They looked at dietary cholesterol intake from egg consumption. They looked at cardiovascular risk from egg consumption. And here's a summary of their findings. They said, overall, consuming eggs was not found to have a significant association with the risk of developing cardiovascular diseases in the general population. And they state, this suggests that eggs can be part of a balanced diet and does not necessarily increase the risk of heart disease for most people. And in fact, when they did a more detailed analysis of several studies, what they found was that people who ate a high number of eggs, so 7 or more per week, had a slightly lower risk of a stroke compared to people who ate fewer eggs, so less than 1 per week. And this was about a 9% reduction in stroke risk. I mean, it's not huge, but it's still something beneficial. When it comes to coronary heart disease, eating eggs did not show a significant impact in the risk of developing coronary heart disease in the general population. However, there were individuals with type 2 diabetes and where people with type 2 diabetes did have an association between egg consumption and increased coronary heart disease risk. So there could be a rationale for why people with type 2 diabetes might be at a higher risk for coronary heart disease if they're eating a lot of eggs. There was also a meta-analysis of 17 different of these randomized controlled trials looking at egg intake, and this was about 3 to 7 eggs per day. And it did raise total cholesterol, LDL cholesterol, and HDL, like I mentioned, but it wouldn't seem like it was a significant enough risk to raise coronary heart disease. And so it seems like people that are very, very sensitive to those types of elevations in LDL, for example, total cholesterol, maybe they need to kind of monitor that a little more closely. But I think generally speaking, the ongoing debate about whether or not eggs are bad for your health or bad for heart health is somewhat settled, and they're not for most people. There are certain individuals that may want to limit their egg consumption, and those are people with genetic reasons. Maybe they're very sensitive to dietary cholesterol, or maybe they have type 2 diabetes. But generally speaking, I don't think the data is supportive of the statement that eggs are bad for your health. In fact, I think that they're actually a high quality source of vitamins and protein. But the question is, do you have to eat, 5 eggs every day? Not necessarily, right? You don't, especially if it is raising your LDL or your ApoB, for example, and you're really trying to work on lowering that, then, every little step you can take to lower those ApoB levels is a good thing, right? And so maybe instead of eating 4 eggs a day, you eat, 1 or 2 eggs a day.